What's good, YouTube? It's Jay here, and today we are having an interview with our friend, the Dutchman, Jeroen, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who has designed some of the most graphically detailed mods in Empire At War history. You want to go ahead and say your name?
Hi, my name is Jeroen. You almost got it right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's just that foreigners they can't pronounce it. Then again, it's also a most fiendish combination of letters, so I don't blame you at all. Hi, I'm Jeroen. I am the Dutchman, aka or Geronimo, whatever you want to call it. Started the remake mod. Started Old Republic at War. Do some Empire at War stuff. Do some streaming. That whole thing.
And if you guys don't know who this man is, you are absolutely ludicrous. This guy has been around for well over more than a decade now in Empire War modding, as far back as I know. I remember seeing this guy back on File for in like 2010. He took the reins of one of the first.
So long ago now.
It's
all gone.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
so many memories gone. This guy took the reins of
the files are still there, but...
Yeah. This guy took the reins of an Old Republic mod and churned out one of the most highly reviewed mods of all time.
I made that whole thing from scratch.
Oh, did you? Okay.
From scratch. Well, I mean, I started it. I mean, I didn't make, like, any of the art assets. That was, like, old warp null. It was like I cobbled, like, a bunch of warp null models together, and I eventually asked, how do I add this code to that code? Because I can't even launch the game anymore. My God, it was bad back then.
Yeah, that was like the dark age of modding where everybody was still trying to figure out how to literally do anything at that point.
Yeah, people were still talking to Nomada.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know,
Sorry.
I plan to do an interview with him at some point or another. I've always wanted to hear.
Dude, I would listen to that so much. I've been dying to hear that man talk sometime. But I mean, obviously he doesn't respond to me, so he might respond to you as a neutral, like, third party. I would watch the fuck out of an interview like that.
Yeah, I've always heard so much backlash about the guy. I've always just wanted to hear his perspective on things, just because I mean, I'm like I said, you know, I'm a neutral, I'm a middle ground. You know, I want to keep everybody on the same playing field, everybody on the same level. You know, make it fair.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, so one of the first things I kind of want to ask you is when did you start getting into modding this game? Like, when did it all begin? What kind of like drew your interest into it?
Well, I mean, when I started playing Empire at War around the time it came out, I think I once saw the game at like a library, and I was like, well, this has Star Wars on the tin. So I brought that home. And was like, wow, you got all these hard points and stuff. That's quite interesting. Tried for the longest time to get a hold of the Forces of Corruption expansion, but I couldn't fucking do it. Not via, like, piracy. I couldn't find it anywhere in any store, so that was kind of sour. Fairly quickly started installing all sorts of mods, like Conflict in Space, like, all this super, super, super old shit. And that was always a difficult thing, because I always spent, like, 3 hours trying to install it and could never get it to work. And then eventually I did it. Now, once upon a time, I actually did get Forces of Corruption. Played that, was a little disappointed. And getting into modding for that, at least got into trying mods for that. And eventually I thought, all right, well, there are no real Old Republic mods. Like, one of my favorite games of all time was Knights of the Old Republic, D&D based. Well, I mean, you guys haven't played it, go fucking look it up in Steam. It's classic.
If you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic yet in this day and age, you're not doing something right with your life.
Hey, man, you would be surprised. There's still people that haven't played Mass Effect, and this is where we find out you haven't played Mass Effect.
I played through all the Mass Effect games like 17,000 times.
Good man. Good man. All right. Yeah, but anyway, so I eventually figured there's no good Old Republic mod, so there's all these good free-release models, because Warp Null was still doing his thing. He was just pumping stuff out left and right. It's like every 2 weeks there's like boom, here, have a Starforge, and have like a random-ass ship I've never heard of. And I thought, why does no one just stuff all this crap into a mod, and then voila, and then I figured, well, guess I'll do it myself. That's literally kind of how that started.
So I think I remember you at one point or another on File Front. Like, I think you were having a debate with a guy who was initially trying to make an Old Republic mod.
Please don't. I hope you don't remember that.
I 110% do. That was my first introduction to you.
It's all downhill from here, folks.
No, in all seriousness, we won't bring up old news. So like in the development process of Old Republic at War, I'm probably gonna ask a few questions about this because personally, Old Republic at War is one of my favorite mods of all time. Just for the
Oh
record,
no, go ahead.
I love the hell out
You
of
know,
that
I
mod.
hear that a surprising amount. It's such a spaghetti bullshit piece. Yeah, it. I mean, it's kind of being held up by sticks and duct tape, and people still seem to enjoy it. I'm
Well,
still surprised that people think it was something.
I think it a lot has to do
Man.
with the fact that we don't have any up until that point. We never had a quality Old Republic mod. Like they existed, but they usually didn't have any form of flair to them. You know, they were just the same old thing. Similar to how there's like a billion. I'm actually gonna turn my mic just a tiny bit here on OBS. Similar to how there were just like a billion, you know, like Clone Wars mods that exist, still
mods.
do exist.
Yeah.
You know, all of those that are out there.
They still make them. They still keep making new ones.
People love it, man. People love the Clone Wars.
Do you see that Grievous guy that is like the Clone Wars with facts? Oh my lord, I laughed my ass off. That guy is gold.
I did not. I don't even. I've never actually heard of that one in particular.
Oh, okay. Well, it's.
I don't want to rag on the guy because
tell you.
I don't want to rag on the guy because I don't personally know him, but I'm definitely going to check out the Steam workshop.
Oh yeah, sorry. I suppose we shouldn't do that in public, eh?
Yeah, we do that in private, man. We yeah.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. But yeah, like Old Republic at War, dude. It was one of the like for at its time, at its age, you know, it was one of the most graphically detailed. That was our 2019 mod back in the day because it was just so graphically detailed. You know. Like,
well, I mean, thank you, man. Thank you. I didn't make half the graphics in that thing, but thank you.
Shout out to whoever did, dude. That like it still holds up well in terms of like quality gameplay. You know, it still holds up in my opinion.
You know, I recently booted that thing up on stream, and I thought, you know, guys, we've done like this and that. It's time to have some fun. And I booted like up an old version, and I was like, wow, this actually surprisingly. So that's actually not bad. It has like I stuffed this anime music in it. It's like the only anime I really ever watched. It's like it's called Code Geass, and it had fairly decent music. I stuffed that in there, and then I just built a whole bunch of random ass like weird units. Like at one point, I put in an interceptor unit with like 25 speed. I was like, well, that sounds interesting, and then just put it in there. And when it all comes together, it's like fast-paced gameplay. It's actually not terrible, strangely enough.
If it's the Old Republic theme, literally absolute chaos.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it was.
That describes every video game, every era of the Old Republic. You know, the Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars, the Old Republic, all the novels. Literally just how many people can you kill in one sitting, pretty much.
I recently finished a playthrough of Knights of the Old Republic again. And my god, I forgot how super OP you could get in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, with the amount of cocaine that you can snort, the final boss is just... bam, done.
Maybe I did something wrong as a kid. I remember I used to struggle against Malik at some point or another when I was a kid. Maybe I just wasn't doing things right.
I did it too, but you see, I recently, like, I went back in it, and I like stats, and I like min-maxing.
Yeah.
And I went in that, and I kind of figured, okay, so this is what you do with that, and that's what you do with that, and these stats do that, and then you use all the stim packs, and then you just go. And all the force buffs, and drops like a fly.
Just steamroll through everything, huh?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. One-man circus.
And speaking, while we're still talking about the Old Republic, this is a question I was going to ask later on when I brought up Empire At War Remake. The Starforge.
Oh, go for it.
That is one of the most ambitious models I've ever seen you make in my life. And for the for Empire At War Remake, the new map that you've got to work on.
Oh, yeah.
That is definitely, like, so when you were making that, like, did you have an idea of the scale in mind, like, prior to starting that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I like imagining shit, right? And I happen to know a little bit about how this game kind of can do things. And I kind of just connect the dots, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this could be interesting. I mean, I always have difficulty kind of explaining my ideas, but in my head they kind of work, and then I just kind of put them together, and sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. But when I have the idea that it can work, like with the Starforge, it usually kind of works out. And you simply take the max render distance of the game, which is when you have the camera at one point.
Mm-hmm.
If something's too far away, it stops rendering. Then you set the sky dome to the max range minus the map size, so that when you're at one edge of the map, The Sky Dome doesn't stop rendering, and at that point you have the max size of any object you can make. And given the Death Star in the mod, it's also fairly large. Can't hit that because it's a giant spherical bullshit thing. But then when you have the Star Forge, that's just the thing you could stuff right in the middle of the map, or at least roughly to the middle of the map. So you can make that thing, including the sun particle underneath it, you can make that as large as the entire Sky Dome, and then just work from there.
Right. I have to say, I'm actually kind of disappointed right now in my current Let's Play I have going on of Empire at War Remake. The pirates actually took over Rakata before I could get there as the rebellion. So when I got there, I didn't get a chance to have any like gigantic epic battle, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, there is a chance they rebuild it. I mean, it only costs 1 million credits.
I already took the planet over, so... spoilers for the next episode, by the way. I've already uploaded, but if you're watching this before that, it's spoilers. But
does Dumbledore die?
I've got to say though, dude.
Now,
like,
there are some bugs in the 2.0 release, which like you could take over Rakata Prime by like raiding the ground. Like I made a mistake in the game constants.xml and enabled raiding for every faction. So you can raid and then just take the ground, and that automatically blows up the Starforge, which has been fixed for the next version, but still.
Yeah, that's
how the AI is.
That's just like a cheap way. That's just a cheap way out for the.
Yeah. I'm trying to cover these. It's like plugging holes, really. Yeah. I'm trying to plug the holes.
You know, the more I think about it, the more I use the ability. Raiding was so unnecessarily overpowered in the old Empire War. Especially as the rebellion, really like with artillery, you can raiding with artillery, you auto resolve that, you win, you literally take over the entire planet with 2 artillery pieces. Yeah,
I intentionally broke the auto resolve system, and I have no intention of fixing it.
Yeah, I respect that. I mean, auto resolve in Empire War is hard to fix, honestly.
No, that's what I'm saying. I have no intention of fixing it. I don't want people auto resolving that sort of shit.
Oh yeah, I mean. I personally don't auto-resolve space battles because I see it as just silly. It's like, just even if it's a small battle, it'll take you like 2 minutes max. Just play it out. You can't auto-resolve literally in any other RTS in the world in this day and age. So, like, just suck it up and play the battle out.
Look, the way I look at it is the moment that people have like the desire to start auto-resolving shit, then I kind of failed as someone that wants to design fun space battles. Yeah. So you just got to make sure that your space battles are fun and engaging and all that stuff. And at that point, people won't want to auto-resolve. At least that's the theory.
I mean, it makes sense. I haven't had a desire yet to auto-resolve, primarily because I don't want to lose most of my ships. And B,
and that is my fallback.
Yeah.
See, you got it.
Yeah, that. And plus, I personally enjoy the space battles in that mod so much. It's just like I would rather just play them out than just mindlessly point click auto resolve next planet, point click auto resolve. There's just no entertainment value in that, in my opinion. Especially as like as a guy who makes YouTube content too. I want to show out as much as I can of the game before we call it quits with a playthrough or something.
Yeah, I do appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, not a problem, dude. Your mod's awesome. Like I've poured so many hours into recording it. I love that. I love the hell out of that mod.
And there's so much left to do.
We need more expanding universe stuff. You didn't hear it from me.
Yeah. Dude, don't worry. I hear every single suggestion. Don't worry about it. I've heard them all.
I bet, dude.
I've heard them all.
Oh, so we might as well go into the subject now. Speaking of Empire War Remake, what is the mind?
Yeah, sure.
Let's get into the mastermind behind that project. That's basically an entire conversion mod. When you first started it, like, did you have any like dreams of grandeur with it? Like, when you first started it, what was your mindset kind of going into it? Like, how you wanted to do things?
Oh my god!
And I'll just let you take over.
No idea. You have no idea how out of hand this thing has gotten. Look, when I started this, I did not want to put in the ISD2 because I thought it would be too OP. I started this thing to just be a dumbass graphic overhaul to use some models I built for another mod that I didn't think were ever going to get used. So I just started rigging them, and I thought, you know what, let's start just a clean mod folder, put in a couple of models here and there, a few textures. Voila, ready. Put in all the old Evil Jedi stuff, release it, call it done, and go back to Old Republic at War. Holy shit, that got so out of hand. You have no idea. And it gets more progressively out of hand every day. I have a problem,
People
Jay.
love it, man. People love beautiful graphics on an old game. It brings back our childhood memories, man.
Yeah, true. And I think the game has a lot of potential and unused potential. And the system is fairly complex. I mean, there are some things I wish I had from like the Battle for I don't know. Have you ever played the Battle for Middle Earth?
uh,
Old EA strategy game.
I have not.
All right, it's okay. Many people haven't. Such a shame. There's like a mechanic where as the battle goes on and you keep fighting, you rack up these so-called spell point or spell book points,
Yeah.
and then you can buy. Yeah, there's this entire like power tree that you can have, and it allows you to summon shit like Army of the Dead, Balrog, Elven allies, and like Undermine, Citadel, and also just simple things like miniature buffs or increase the production output of a farm. It's like a super interesting secondary mechanic, and you don't have any of that stuff in Empire at War, which is really unfortunate. But there are other things you can do in this game, and I feel like if you just kind of connect the dots with a little bit of vision, then you can do some fairly interesting things.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of in the expanded universe, some Jedi had the power to project like force projection. So, make it seem like a fleet exists there, but in reality, it's just a projection of the Force. That definitely would be an interesting mechanic. You use that for like some battle meditation type mechanic or something.
Like you mean like a fake fleet
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
Interesting.
So,
And
yeah,
in battle, would that be something you could fire at, or how do you see that working? Explain this to me.
well, for the books, it was like specifically used as a way of drawing like fleets away. For example, during the Second Galactic Civil War, I remember there being a projected fleet prior to the Battle of Fondor to make it look like there were more enemies there than there were initially, and that turned out to be successful for the side using it because they were kind of basically able to trick the enemy into retreating in a sense. I can't remember exactly what book or when exactly this happened, but the concept is make it seem like there's more there than what it is to prevent people from basically attacking you. How that would work in Empire at War without breaking it, I have no idea.
Oh, no. This is what you do. You intentionally break it. This is what you do. You set up. Look, I love fucking with the player. I absolutely love fucking with the player. And the more they are raging, the more I am happy. This is what you do.
I respect
You
that.
make the same. Look, I have these like small like countdown timers on the top left of the screen, which is like I don't know, like Titan class battle cruisers now producing or something.
Yeah.
You take one of those things, like hang on, let me. I was like just into the text file, the string thing. Hang on, let me quickly like Praetor. Like you put up like a Praetor class star battle cruiser construction time or something. You put one of those countdown timers up, and then you like actually spawn the damn unit. It's completely undistinguishable from the real thing, except that it only costs like 50 credits and it's a complete fake. And then the enemy or then the player is like, oh fuck, and then the AI uses it in like a fleet, and you try to like reinforce the side of the galaxy that thing is on, and eventually that thing is coming in, and then you go into battle, and then you see it's just the damn like hologram or something. People would be raped.
Or like a Tartan cruiser.
Yeah, something like that, or like just a giant hologram with like lol. That's like that's totally something I would do too.
Speaking of holograms,
I love that shit.
Speaking of holograms, by the way, that was one of the more interesting aspects of Empire War of Yorma, rather, that like changed with the most recent update. Like the entire galactic map basically turned into like hollow chess, pretty much. What was like the design process? I like it personally. I'm just curious, like what was the design process kind of behind that? Like, did you kind of go based off
and
of, like...
Premi, which is like this is like this. Look, I stand among giants. All right, there are so many people that are so much better at literally everything than I am. Like there's better modelers, there's better riggers, textures, coders, script. I can't even script anything. Anyway, and Premi, which is like this super talented guy that like occasionally every like 3 months comes around with like this super revolutionary rigging thing that you look at and you're like, what the fuck? This is great. And he came up with this like holographic board type graphic, and I was like, all right, I wonder how if you draw this a little bit further and you make the entire thing holographic and you make the planets holographic and all that, how would that work? And I started kind of building it from there. And I eventually got to the point where we are now, where everything kind of looks holographic, but it's fairly unfinished, and it really needs like at least a month additional development because I don't like how it is implemented right now. The colors are a little bit too bright. Thrawn's Revenge did something similar where I think it was Corey who made a far more desaturated version of it, which looks a bit better. I think I could do one better than that, but it's definitely not what it is right now. I'm not quite happy with it.
Okay, okay.
My own version, that is.
Well, yeah, because for me, the one thing I liked about it, it kind of gave me some classic Battlefront One, the good one vibes from the 2004 Battlefront game. I think in 2004.
Oh, I love the UI in that so much.
Yeah, like the loading
Recently played
screen,
that.
and it played Across the
Yeah,
Stars.
and it was so
from
much better than
episodes.
Battlefront 2.
Yeah,
Yeah. And Battlefront 2, look, Battlefront 2 had more content, but all the content that was in Battlefront 1 was so much better. I mean, the weapons were more accurate. It's well, accurate to the movies. They felt better. They played better. The maps were like this giant, messy battle arena.
And can we just talk about everything. Like Bespin? The Bespin map on that game was
dude, that was so
goddamn
chaos.
Fun.
The sheer fucking chaos. I love it. I may or may not have taken a lot of inspiration from that for what I plan to do with the Ground Overhaul. Man, look, I played that last week. And I was like, I want to start on this Ground Overhaul right now, but I have so much shit going on that I need to finish before this, which is never going to be done if I start on this now. It was really sour. I really want to start on that. I have like 85% of it mapped out, but I just need to go ahead and actually do it. I mean, all the models and shit are implemented. I mean, not the particles, but the models are in. Thanks to Jedi Clone. Credit to him for his ports. I just need to actually get the coding all in, and yeah. I got the ideas, took some inspiration from places, mostly Battlefront. I feel like it could work fairly well.
And honestly, that's one of the things I thoroughly enjoy about your loading menu in Empire at War Remake was just like the background and the music. It just like again in relation to the whole Battlefront UI thing. Whenever I used to start that up and I just hear like Across the Stars start playing, and it just shows like the whole map. Zooming across to Geonosis, then zooming across to like the Battle of Naboo, and then
I'm gonna note it down right now. I need to find whatever those music tracks are in Battlefront, and then fucking stuff it in Empire.
I can tell you right now, as a guy who's historically listened to this track more than I should probably admit.
You know which that are? Send me those fucking names in Discord, and I'm writing it down right now.
Well, the main one is Across the Stars. That's the one. That's the Anakin Padme theme. That one with like the flute whistle kind of thing.
Yeah. Now I need a gigantic holographic battlefield, but the problem is that requires so much rigging word and memory to load into the game that's probably not going to happen. But I'm definitely taking the fucking music.
You could do theoretically, you could put it in the loading menu, like as a recording. You could record. You could record.
Yes, you could totally do. Yeah. But then you don't get the nice swoosh over on like the battlefield. Yeah, but the tactile camera also sucks, so that wouldn't work.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But we could take the Battlefront 1 recording and then stuff it in the main menu.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
And then Luke is gonna hate me because his nice UI menu for splash screen is out. That's okay because he still has plenty of other nice things.
Oh man. So then there's another thing I wanted to talk about in regards to Empire at War Remake. It finally probably took some convincing from the rest of the fan base to.
Oh, sorry. What did you say?
So, if in regards to Empire at War Remake, let me make sure my mic is not too loud in OBS again. In regards to Empire at War Remake, it took a lot of convincing, I could tell, from most of the fan base, but when it came to expanding the Rebel Alliance unit roster, like what did you kind of like think about like when like making new units? Like what like roles were you trying to like really fulfill? Like when it came to like throwing in some of the extra ships that you didn't want, that you like to your damnedest you did not want to throw in there.
They're currently trying that with the K-Wing. I mean, the amount of K-Wings that I have seen. I've even made it a goddamn icon on the damn Discord server because the fucking K-Wing's in there. Anyway, K-Wing aside. I basically have a fairly simple but fairly effective design philosophy for each faction's space roster, and that's they have to kind of be self-contained. Nothing has to be obsolete. Only, depending on what faction it is, the units kind of have a different function, a different focus, and that's what differentiates them. So if you have, for example, the Republic units... they focus on fairly not tanky, but lots of carriers with high quality starfighters.
Yeah, swarm.
They got sorry,
like swarm tactics, pretty much.
Yeah, kind of. Then you got the CIS, which kind of tries to do the same with very low cost and very cheap, but very high damage ships to kind of overpower that. And that's how they focus. Then you got the Empire, which evolved from the Republic, which have a lot of tanky ships, which beat the CIS ships in a straight-on fight if they were pitted against each other, and they'd absolutely mop the floor with them because they're also long range, which is absolutely terrible again for a high damage, low health faction like the CIS. And in that sense, every faction kind of has their own focus. Nothing is obsolete. I mean, they're still very effective in their own role if you use them right.
Yeah.
And the idea is that every faction, if you want to use just one faction ships, you need to be able to just have a full playthrough and no problems. Now, you're not always going to have the same classes. For example, the CIS doesn't even have a goddamn Corvette. But they make up for their anti-starfighter in other ways, namely the giant amount of vulture droids and the Recusant, which just shits all over them. So you can still kind of do your thing. In that sense, what am I trying to say? Yeah, basically every faction needs to be able to play alone in their own way. Every ship needs to be effective, and I don't want to make, for example, the Old Republic ships way too weak because of arbitrary... my ears.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it happens. But I don't want to make the Old Republic ships, for example, obsolete because they would be like, they would be weaker because they're old. I mean, they're still firing like lasers and shit. So they simply have a different focus.
You got to, and to be fair,
right.
technology in Star Wars arguably never evolves in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I remember, I think it was Eckhart Slatter, however you pronounce that man's name. The YouTuber that does like all the Star Wars like lore videos and stuff. He kind of pointed out in one of his videos that Star Wars tech, in a sense, really never has a point to evolve because technology, like there are never enough conflicts to warrant it consistently evolving. Like you might, the Old Republic was that was a different juggernaut. They had literally hundreds of years of wars and shit. That's that different story. But like by the Clone Wars and all that, technology really.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Stagnated a little bit because there was never a point. The biggest conflict up until that point was like the Stark hyperspace war that happened in 32. I spend way too much time reading Wikipedia. The Stark hyperspace war that happened in like 32 ABY was like the most recent war-esque conflict up until like since like 1000 BBY. Like,
Yeah.
Like there's never.
And I mean, sorry, yeah, you proceed.
I was just gonna say, there in Star Wars, like I can still see a Hammerhead cruiser and a Centurion. Like, I wouldn't say going toe to toe with like modernized ships, obviously, but they'd still be able to do some damage. Like, they're still.
No, but in their specific roles, if they're in the position where they can do what they do, then they should still be effective. I mean, way too many mods are like, oh yeah, no, this is a Clone Wars ship, which means we're just gonna half the damage. It's like, no, that's lazy unit design. Put some fucking effort in.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, a Venator is still. For example, a Venator, an example, is still is a powerful like warship. Just because it's like 10 years old doesn't neuter its ability to like kill things. That doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean this isn't real world. This is Star Wars. We don't do things like logic and physics.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, a Venator is still a relatively like modernized ship. I mean, if we were to look at it like from a real world perspective, we still use ships from, well, maybe less and less now. But for a time, up until like the 1990s, there were still ships being used from World War II in the U.S. Navy, for example. So I mean,
yep,
a ship is a ship. If it can shoot and kill, that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and tech. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, in Star Wars, these things they don't really evolve. I mean, I think was there cloaking tech before like the things like the TIE Phantom or something? I don't know. When did cloaking tech evolve? I mean, they may have had cloaking tech which they developed, but other than that, I mean,
yeah,
turbo laser.
I'm pretty certain there was cloaking tech. At least now, if I were to look into some of the lore like Star Wars: The Old Republic, I'm certain I could fish something out of that series, like endless seas of lore. But
just seas of lore. It's just like books forgotten. They've almost burned down. They've got thermites in them.
Dude, I mean, when you think about Star Wars: The Republic, it's just there's so much goddamn content to that game. There's so much in that game, lore wise and content wise. We're getting off subject, but I don't know. I could probably.
I don't know. Does your time schedule allow for that?
I don't have classes anymore, and I don't work Thursday through Sunday, so
man, we spoke about this just before we started. I mean, you got to call the end point here because otherwise this will be a 3-hour podcast. And I'm fine with that. I'm not sure if you are, but
I
got
do
the chilling right down.
I do have a couple of things I got to do today. I got to go for an hour long
Mm.
jog in a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I totally forgot how we got on this. Oh, we were talking about the fact that just because
Yeah, Old Republic shit and stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I do like.
I
the
hope
fact
they're
that,
gonna do a new. I hope they're gonna do like new games in that, and hopefully just a proper Knights of the Old Republic 3.
I hope it sticks.
Not this damn MMO.
I just hope it sticks to the lore. Frankly, I don't. I hope they don't try to connect it to any of the new movies, and like how they have a hard on for doing right now. I just want them if they're gonna do it, make it connect to the old lore. And in my sense, that's still a continuation of the expanded universe, so that would make me happy.
I mean, isn't that why people loved Rogue One so much? At least most people loved it. It's like, we just get a little bit of war, we just get a little bit of Star Wars shit, and we get all the things that we love. We get an 8080, at least a variant, we get a Star Destroyer, we get some X-Wings, some Y-Wings, and that's all people wanted. That's literally all they wanted.
And, in my opinion, like, I don't know if you've ever read the lore in the original Death Star plans, like how they were captured by Kyle Katarn and, like, several other factions.
Oh, no, I didn't play those games.
Well, not so much as play the games, but
right?
have you actually ever read the lore on how all of that kind of went down?
Nope.
So I like the original version of that lore just a little bit more because it made more sense to me. There were basically multiple fragments of the Death Star plans that took some time to piece together, and multiple rebel cells went through a shit ton of effort basically to get all of that information.
Damn. That sounds like you can make a TV series out of this.
It was good. It was really good. That's where Kyle Katarn, like the namesake that I like to use, that's where he was kind of introduced.
That's where he came from. Okay.
Yeah. He was a rebel mercenary. He started helping secure the Death Star plans and such. In Rogue One, it follows I wouldn't say the same philosophy since the plans were literally in the same spot pretty much. But I think that movie as a whole, it didn't feel like it was trying to force anything. It felt like it could have been a part of the expanded universe, honestly. Like I think.
Yeah.
Like, that was the reason why I liked it. I'm not saying like it is, but it felt like something I would enjoy if it was an expanded universe, like piece of content. It didn't focus on just saying screw this, that, and the other. It had one objective. I love that movie from like start to finish. It had just one objective. And the people in that movie did that.
I just wish they had a little bit of better characters. Like, come on, this is Disney. How can they forget how to make good characters? I mean, for the longest time, I've had this theory like that. These sequels, I mean, the characters they feel so non-human because they do not have believable motivations and shit. And for the longest time, I have believed that they are intentionally making these movies so damn bad because this is Disney. Disney cannot make movies this bad unless they're intentionally trying to do it. Now, I have no idea what the hell they get out of torpedoing the largest IP on the planet, but I really feel like they know how to make good movies. And these are not those movies.
And they do. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're just trying to appeal. I'm not going to go into social politics because fuck that. But,
oh, yeah. But, dude, this is the internet. You'll get crucified.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're trying to pertain to certain audiences and they don't really care in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they're doing Fallen Order right now. It's like my grandmother could pick up this game and complete. It's like, fuck, that's not what I want. I want to feel a side of pride and achievement. No, I want to have a sense of pride and achievement. It's not by fucking sticking my credit card in the damn USB port.
Jesus Christ. Is it really that easy? I haven't really looked into it.
Have you seen the gameplay teaser? It's like I could do this while high with one eye open and a cheeseburger in my mouth. It's terrible.
You couldn't even play the Force Unleashed like that. At least that game, like if you didn't pay attention, you got destroyed in that game, honestly.
I think they're just trying to appeal to an audience that is so wide at this point that they lose what makes a game a game. You want to be able to master something. You want to be able to conquer something and feel like you achieved something in the mastery of a skill. And they completely lose that by making it so easy that anyone can do it without even trying. And at that point, you lose the very essence of what makes a video game enjoyable.
Dude, give me Dark Souls, Star Wars, and then we're talking.
Oh my... Dude, that would sell so many copies. Just imagine they did that.
Well, in a way, that was kind of
with that all day.
In a way, that was kind of the old Jedi Knight games. If you threw those games on the highest difficulty, you were basically playing Star Wars Dark Souls.
I haven't played those. I should play those.
Are you serious? You've never played like Jedi Academy? I haven't played those.
Look, man, I have a finite amount of time.
Listen, man. All I can say is I recommend playing Star Wars Jedi Knight Outcast, and if you want some crazy nonsense to go on, play it on the highest difficulty, and be ready to get confused by the endless amount of puzzles that are in the game. Because the game is literally
Oh,
puzzle
good.
simulator with things that can kill you quickly.
Oh, amazing. Then I can fail at puzzles on stream. Lose all my
Exactly.
reputation.
And
This is
make a
good.
bunch of highlights, and yeah, exactly.
Upload it all to YouTube. People laugh at you.
I
This is
would
great.
I would say also you look at some of the speed runs of that game. There's somebody I believe who beat the game in 8 minutes. Because
That sounds like not a lot of time.
no, the game was long as shit. It's just they found a certain glitch that basically allows you to bunny hop across the entire map of the game. And if you just if you just know where the locations for buttons to press are and stuff,
Yeah, I mean, I do like watching speedruns, but I don't like it when people like glitch the fuck out of it. I mean, I can appreciate some real like a no hit run of Dark Souls, something like that. I mean, that is just to me that blows my mind. That is amazing to watch. But when someone like glitches shit, it kind of takes it away, in my opinion.
No, yeah, I agree.
That's just me though.
It just kind of makes it a little less. I guess that's the whole aspect behind speedrunning. I guess I had an argument with somebody about this one time, but I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Glitching is kind of weird.
Are we getting off topic or something?
We are just a tiny bit.
All right. You know what I said about me being a fucking NPC? I just keep talking about one thing. It's just branching paths. I hook into one detail of a story and I just keep going and then hook into detail of that. It just keeps going endlessly. You got to cut it somewhere because
hey, man,
I'll be talking about shit for the rest of the time.
This is the opportune time for us to get to know you as a person. And so, I mean, hearing about your interests and stuff, that helps a lot. So, hey.
Oh, man.
But
there's a lot.
In that case, then, back on, I'll ask a few more things about Empire At War Remake in that case.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
this is the time for questions.
So, what are your plans? Like, what are your next series of plans? You don't have to give like release dates or anything because we don't believe in that, obviously, in the modding world.
No, it's just when it's done.
Yeah, exactly. It's when it's done. What are your next set of plans for, like the mod, like ship like designs or anything that you could spoil here?
All right, here's the thing. For the longest time, and this has been for months. I have planned a ground overhaul, which is basically just do what I did for space only on ground. And I've slowly been working it out. Okay, I don't really make plans. I don't really have a to-do list. I don't work with any of that. I'm not that organized. I'm a very impulsive person, and I kind of try to envision something interesting, something that would play well, and that kind of becomes a dot. And then when you have enough dots, you kind of connect them, and that hopefully comes together into a single uniform vision. That's how I designed space. Well, not while planning it out. That literally just went on as it goes. But it still kind of fits into the system. I played StarCraft for way too long, and there's a mod for that, Desert Strike, which is just literally pitting units against each other in like different formations and shit. And I played that for so long. I literally played that for years and hours a day. It's terrible. So much time wasted. But I at this point have like an almost autistic like ability to imagine how like battles go. And then how things like projectile speed, splash damage, splash range, unit speed, how these things kind of work together to make something.
Yeah.
And I try to find new experiences. Like, for example, playing Battlefront last week. And then I just try to take some of those ideas and then put that together into that vision. And at this point, enough dots have come together for example, ground, that I could actually start on that right now. Anyway, that's just one of the things. There's another thing called the Starbase Overhaul, which is basically where I played Phoenix Rising, Bob's mod, and I was like, wow, this Starbase system is really complex and interesting. I wonder if I could do something with this. And I actually started planning out a whole bunch of things like, okay, we could do this with shipyards. We can have like space colonies, which you need for like people. And I got I even have an Excel file. It's up for download on the Remake Discord server in the updates channel somewhere, which basically just outlines all of the new space stations that I would like and how we're going to be locking units to different structures and all that. It's just a whole bunch of work, coding, and some new models for things, and it just takes a bunch of time.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I plan a little bit faster than I'm able to actually make stuff. So at this point, I stop doing things, and then when I think of something new, I kind of put it in the backlog, and I try to kind of wrap up what I'm trying to do now. For example, at this point, I'm in the middle of a gameplay overhaul where I try to make, for example, ion cannons. I wanted to give them a secondary function. Since the Rebellion is very much proton torpedo focused, which are very effective, and the Empire has more turbo lasers and ion cannons, I figured we need some sort of secondary function for ion cannons because aside from doing shield damage, they don't really do a whole lot right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to stun ships, and depending on the ion cannon, light, heavy, or medium. You can stun different classes of ships, which then reduces their firepower, but that also involves increasing the firepower of all the capital ships to a point where you are kind of designing them around default always being stunned, because that's how it's going to be in that gameplay thing. Also double the HP of all the capital ships, so the gameplay is a little bit slowed down, which is a lot more enjoyable, since now you can actually have large battles where ships don't die as quickly.
Yeah.
I'm still in the middle of doing that. I still have to double the firepower of all the capital ships. That's a nice little coding project I still have to get going on. Though currently I'm working on the Vengeance Siege platform. I kind of took a Vengeance as it was. The Vengeance frigate from Force of Corruption?
Yep.
Yeah. Took that, took a delicious space brownie on stream, and together with the chat, I kind of thought, all right, so what can we do to make this Vengeance more interesting? And as the creative juices were flowing, I thought, all right, but what if we size it up to 4 times the normal size? We make it a giant immobile space station that you kind of put on the map somewhere, and then around a large radius around itself, it has these giant cannons that it can use as a artillery platform, kind of like a poor man's torpedo sphere. And then when you want to reposition it, you use to power the engines and then position it around the map. And that's kind of how I designed
a mobile defensive station, pretty much.
Yeah, but also kind of an offensive thing, because once you get it in range of a starbase, it will start from half a map away, start bombing shit.
And what kind of projectiles does it use? I'm going to assume maybe mass drivers.
Oh, do you know the current Cadalbe?
Yeah.
It has two of the big Cadalbe cannons, which one also has 2 very big long-range cannons. And it has 6 of the small mass drivers in the front.
Jesus Christ, so it's literally an artillery piece from hell.
Yeah, and it's as big as a... It's about twice as long as an ISD, only high. It's quite big.
Jesus. So, are you talking about the massive particle cannons that were on the Cadalbe?
No, not those giant ass.
I was about to say, holy shit, that's about to be a little.
I'm talking about the giant mass drivers. They should be in the 2.0 light release right now.
Right.
If you've ever tried a Cadalbe in that, they should have these giant long range mass drivers. Only they'll be longer range still.
Yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to play. Which faction can only pick those up? I'm gonna assume the pirates, right? Or the criminal.
Oh no, everyone. You simply capture Mandalore and then boom.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to give it a go then, because I haven't touched. I'm actually in the process of capturing it right now for my current Let's Play series. But last time I captured Mandalore, I just went straight to Candosi spamming. I totally need to work on doing stuff with
those are pretty good. Stuff. The problem with the Mandalorians is, look, you can build the Jehavi there, which is like this. It's a relatively small Corvette, but it's got so much fucking firepower that it's insane. And aside from the Jehavi, sorry,
I was gonna say, I know, I've ran into quite a few of them by the Empire now.
Yeah, they're pretty good, as Crip would say. Anyhow, you got that, then you got the Cadalbe, and you got the Candosi. And between those, it's like, what do I build? They're all good. They're all going to get the job done in slightly different flashy ways, but they'll still do it. And I don't blame you for spamming one of them at all. I need to work on kind of differentiating them, because they kind of don't have a downside aside from being slow.
Do you plan on making the other bigger version of the Jehavi? I forgot what it's called.
Oh man, I have a Kira mode. I mean, I'd show you, but obviously I can't show you. I have like a Kira mode, which I've had done since like 2016. It's a very decent model. I made it in the same 2-week period where I built the Candosi and the Jehavi. It's basically a Kira mode, only in a slightly different style. Only for some reason, I only ever rigged and textured the Candosi. The Jehavi was made by someone else, which I still have to redo that. And at some point, I would like to also get the Kairamut done, because it's a fairly unique take on the ship. Only it's just not done. It's kind of like the Viscount. It's just not done yet.
Yeah. If you have an image of it, I could throw it up into the video.
Oh yeah, no, sure. Here, hang on, let me.
The only one I remember that you had was from Old Republic at War. So unless we're talking about an entirely fresh out the box newborn baby model.
It is a fresh born. It's 100% fresh. Trust me, it's the hot take of the Dutchman. Hang on, it's hang on, I'll put it in the Steam thing. There you go. That's it.
Let's see.
Get it while it's hot.
Holy
Well, I
shit.
mean, 2016 hot, but you know.
Let me do something right quick. Let's see. Oh, that. How have I missed that? Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
That's
Is
basically that. I'm
so is that going to be the
yeah.
primary variant of it, or do you plan on making two different variants?
No, that would basically be the Kyre mode. You got that in the Jihavi and the Kendozi, which are Old Republic ships, and then the Cadel Bay is basically just a new Mandalorian unit.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, there are a couple of ships in here that I don't think ever got fully churned out into something. There was that battle cruiser. That's like a couple of images down to the left.
That may or may not be an exact replica of the StarCraft One battle cruiser,
Oh, you
which I absolutely loved. Battle
gotcha.
cruiser operational.
It's a great model either way.
It's fairly simple. Back in that was actually built at the time where I thought, you know what we should do? We should make some models without a lot of polygons.
Oh
And then
wait,
I
did
went
that
ahead
did
and
that
made
did
these.
that did that not have a lot of polys to it?
No, it's actually quite well. I mean, for what it is, it has all right, it has fewer polygons than my usual shit. I usually go way over budget, and then I
Gotcha,
don't bother texturing units in the hope that it'll still look good.
gotcha.
Turns out that's not been working out as of late. Praetor being the best example. Such a detailed model, and it looks like shit because I used tiling textures on it. Goddamn, the lack of an ambient occlusion map does. It just kills the quality, and it kills me as well.
I gotta say,
It's terrible.
you're speaking a foreign language for me. I know a decent amount about coding, but when it comes to the texturing
Oh,
process,
sorry.
it's all alien language to me.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not the best at it either. It's basically I use tiling textures on the ship.
You're not the best at it. Come on, man. I'm looking at your Candosi model from 2017 on the Old Republic at War page. Dude, this thing is so
Yeah.
goddamn textured and detailed. Like,
Oh yeah, that was I think the one ship I ever actually tried to use substance painter correctly.
right.
And after that, I was like, "Fuck this! This is way too much work." And then I just slapped existing textures on this. It's absolutely terrible. When I actually try, it's actually quite good, but you have to actually try, and that takes time.
Like this is fantastic, frankly. Like this is absolutely insane on how good this is.
Oh, thanks. Oh, and by the way, with the new PBR shaders, you could actually get this to look almost as good as it does in Substance Painter in those images. I mean, not exactly, but have you seen the new PBR shaders, by the way?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, it's basically just a long, long time ago in a galaxy far away. There was this guy called Gawkler, and Gawkler is an absolute baller. Um, he basically wrote a whole bunch of shaders for the game. Shaders are basically how the game renders things like textures and models
Yeah.
and how it makes it look. Now, what he did is he rewrote a whole bunch of shaders of the existing games, which were fairly simple shaders, into more complex one to better handle the way lighting is handled in with the models. Now, these shaders he released, free release, I thought they were still under development. Now, apparently, I recently learned they were not, and so last week or the week before that, I can't remember. I decided to stuff them into my mod, and I figured, all right, how does this look? Now, there's a ton of shit that you have to relearn because a lot of things like the specular map and the bump no longer functions. There's actually no fucking specular. When I looked at stuff in the ALO viewer with the new shaders applied, the actual specular did nothing.
Mm.
I was like, what is this madness? This magic. But with a bunch of changed map lighting, when I eventually get around to changing the maps again, I will redo the lighting to include the functionality for the new PBR shaders to an extent where it actually looks good.
Yeah.
And then I think I may or may not have one of the best looking mods in this game. I think that'll be a real step forward.
You're already
Even
there,
on
man. I mean, you're already pretty damn there already. Shoot, I see with all the videos that I've seen of Empire War remake on the internet, a lot of them usually just have the title Empire War, but with 2019 graphics.
it's I get way too much credit for this. I really do. I mean, I just make a couple of high poly models and slap a couple of very mediocre textures on them, and then that's it. That's what I do.
Oh,
I get too much credit.
I know what textures
And
you're talking about now. By the way,
Oh, you do?
Yeah, the PBR ones that you posted pictures of these earlier today. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
these.
actually the same. It's actually the very same textures, only it's just the different shaders and a little bit of
Yeah,
different lighting. There's that TIE Defender one, which I mean, it'd never look better. They make even my shitty textures look good. It's amazing.
you're blowing my mind with this statement of shitty textures, man. You make some of the best texture work I've seen in in this game's history, dude.
Thank you, thank you. But you do me too much credit. There's a lot of skill textures in this community, like fucking Doki, Alrati, and there's a ton more. Like Dolby Nick has recently popped up out of nowhere, and he's making like all these amazing things. And I look at it and I'm like, I wish I could fucking do that. I mean, if I spend a little bit of time, I suppose I could probably get fairly close, but there's so many people so much more skilled than I, and it's really a case of standing on the shoulders of giants. I get entirely way too much credit for what I do, and I really do believe that. And a lot of my work is actually not that. Like, have you seen the Praetor?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the texture on that is so god awful. It literally makes it look shittier. If I just put the untextured model in, it would probably look better than it does right now with the texture. It just drags the whole thing down.
all I can say is, you know your mod better than me, because whenever I look at this dude, I'm just like, this is insane. Like,
I kind of despair because it could look so much better. And when I look at some of my work, I don't really see, like, a lot of people, like, I don't want to sound like a dick, but I do hear sometimes that, like what you're saying, that people say, like, yeah, it looks really good, and thank you for making this mod, and it all looks so good. And I'm like, when I look at some of my work and models specifically, because I do like modeling more than, for example, texturing.
mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily see the final result. All I see is like the graveyard of ideas and things that it could have been and that it totally wasn't. Like where I completely failed to realize my vision for something. And it just, I mean, it's there, it's in game, but it's not what I went for.
Well, and that doesn't make you a
some
dick.
have this more than. Sorry?
I was gonna say, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that doesn't make you really like sound like a dick or anything. Like, you have a vision that you want to attain to, and you're appreciative of the compliments. But I mean, if there's something that you want to go for, and you're not reaching it, I mean, of course, you're always gonna want to do better.
Yeah, and it gets worse because there's so many people, and for example, the Mod Hub, there's like so many talented people. Like, I mean, I just mentioned like Elrati and Doki. I mean, there's far more. I mean, hell, if you've seen some of Evil Jedi's recent Mon Calamari cruises, they're so good, and they're a level of quality that I'm not sure if I could ever really get to without like years and years and years of experience. And at some point, I got really down just comparing myself to all these great artists, and I was like, I seem like a complete, like, I mean, I wouldn't say a complete hack, but it's so much worse than what these people do. And people come to me and they say that like it's the best, like what I do is the best they've ever seen, and I know I got really down, and at one point I figured out the way to deal with that is you got to not compare yourself to other people who've had I don't know how many years of experience. You just got to compare yourself to how you did yesterday, and then keep building on that a little bit every day until eventually you reach that point. But
Yeah.
I know there's so many good artists out there, and I feel like I'm not really the best.
Well, hey man, we still love you, and frankly, I'm always looking forward. Like I literally check. I want to say I check the updates section of this mod like literally like 5 times a day to see if there's some new content there. Because, dude, I'm being serious, man. Like, this is one of the most entertaining mods I've literally ever touched in my life. Like, as far as like from especially from like a content creator perspective. Like, it's always nice to be able to play something that has some quality to it, is balanced. It's like, nothing's just outrageous in the mod.
Balanced mod is a fun mod. And an unbalanced mod is definitely not a fun mod.
Yeah, exactly. I've never personally like just steamrolling through things. I like the fact that there's some challenge to this. If you throw it on the highest difficulty, you better be ready to like have a battle every like 5 seconds.
Absolutely. And even if you are steamrolling something, it has to feel like you're God. It has to feel good. There needs to be spectacle. You're a large unit. Like, that is one thing that I will say that I do think I'm fairly good at. I feel like I'm fairly good at designing gameplay things, as in, there have been a lot of mods over time which have, for example, included like Super Star Destroyers and shit. And every time you have it on the field, it's like, yeah, nice, I got a big unit, but it doesn't feel any different than like a normal Star Destroyer. when I have like a super Star Destroyer or something on the field, I want it to feel like a goddamn spectacle. Like it has to fire like 100,000 shots. It has to be flashy. It has to be big. It has to be fast, and it has to be intimidating. Like you have to see it, and it has to have the awe factor. And I feel like a lot of mods don't really go for that. That is the one thing I will give myself credit for. Like I try really hard to put the awe factor in stuff.
And for the people that are going to be watching this video, if you haven't gone through the screenshots section of Jeroen's Discord, holy shit!
Oh, the screenshot channel is one of my favorites. There's so many people who've,
they captured the spectacle that you're talking about. There's so much of the spectacle that you're talking about that's captured there. It's pretty crazy.
I used to think like, oh man, this is a great screenshot. I got like the best screenshots. And then you go onto the screenshot channel, and it's like there's some people there. It's like there's one guy which is called Dopinder. He's dope. That's the entire description. He just the stuff that he captures, it looks so good. We should look too. It's
I'm looking at
I don't know.
I'm looking at the screenshot channel now, for example. There's somebody managed to catch a missile going through a Carillion Corvette. Like,
oh yeah, that one.
Like, how do you capture that?
That's actually quite impressive. That thing goes very quick.
Like, how do you capture that? How in the world do you capture that?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they were literally like pressing the fucking F12 button. That's the only way. That missile is so fucking fast. That's the orbital missile that fires from like the planet above.
Yeah,
it's insane. Or the surface to space weapon. I mean, it's really quite insane. Yeah, the screenshot channel is one of my favorites. It's just filled with good shit.
And since we are nearing closer to an hour in this, which I don't mind going a little over, I think I am going to keep I'm gonna prod you a little bit more about Empire At War Remake in terms of like his design philosophy, just a little bit more here and there.
Oh yeah, sure. I love talking about that stuff.
Yeah, some future plans with it, and then I'm gonna probably just ask you a couple of personal questions just so we can get to know you as a person a little bit more.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
All right, but yeah, as far as Empire At War Remake goes, so for each of the factions, like as far as like expanding goes, not so much as like balancing, unit damage changes, etc. What is your future for like each of the factions that you can kind of tell us about? Like, so for the Empire, for example, what is something specific you kind of want to do for them? For the Rebellion, what's something you kind of want to specifically do for them? For the Underworld faction,
Let's see. Okay, so the Underworld is easy. There has been a hot fleet of models made by Warp Null himself, the man, the myth, the legend, that have been. The models are ready. The UVs are not, and the textures are not either, and the rigging, I mean, that's not even started. When the Underworld finally gets that entire fleet of HUD ships, they will have a complete roster of units, and I really want that finished. The problem is it's just been sitting in the backlog for so long.
So just to clarify, HUD ships, are we talking about the ones from, do you know that particular fleet, image of the HUD fleet from the Essential Guide to Warfare?
Yeah. Warp made an entire fleet based on that. There's like starfighters, corvettes. There's like 4 destroyers. There's like
2
I didn't cruisers. Know that. There's a super capital ship. There's even a dreadnought.
I didn't realize that. Okay, never mind.
Well, I mean, they were eventually made for a different mod, but those never used the models. And I eventually asked, "Hey, could I maybe have some of these?" And he's like, "Sure, have them all." And I was like, "Yes, please." And now I have all these Warp Null models, and now I'm doing nothing with them. Oh, it feels really bad. I really need someone to just texture that shit. And I've reached out, but good artists are hard to come by. Well, they're not hard to find, but they are hard to, They do also obviously need to help and have time for that. I've at this point enlisted the help of a guy called Dolby Nick, who's doing an absolutely wonderful job of updating the Star Wars Integridum mod. And he's making a whole lineup of New Republic units right now.
I've seen that. That they look. I know they're really good.
His textures are fucking great. Absolutely wonderful. And he has agreed to texture some of the units. He actually textured the Viscount as well. Thanks to him, we now have a Viscount texture.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to have a question about that in a little bit. But I'm sorry, continue on with your design philosophies for the factions and such.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that's the Underworld. That's really the major focus on the Underworld. The Empire, let's see. I don't want to give the Empire too many small ships. I generally want to expand the Rebellion and Empire the exact same way, which is basically just kind of work with what they already have and refine the ways that they can use it. For example, today, We were working on an overhaul for the 181st and Rogue and Black Squadron for the Rebellion in the Empire. And I recently thought, all right, so for the Starbase overhaul, I had planned a Sky Strike station, which is basically an orbital academy for pilots. So I figured, why not scrap that and still have the elite pilots, which are basically just elite starfighter squadrons,
Yeah.
and give them to the academy, the surface side academy, because nobody ever built a barracks and then built an academy. But now, when we overhaul the fleet commanders and they actually have their own units they come with, I plan a whole system with like captains and then admirals, and then when you have your own favorite like heroes like Piet and Thrawn and Akbar, they started like pilots. You have to train them at the academy, and they can eventually upgrade them, kind of like they do now, only via a more unified system that you can also get normal captains and admirals for.
Yeah.
And then you kind of upgrade the hero units throughout their journey, whereas the normal ones you can't. To kind of get their journey throughout the universe. So Piet starts as a normal captain, and he maybe gets a little bit of a different bonus than a normal captain would for different ships, because he is a named hero. You want to kind of give him a separate ability, right? A separate boost bonus. Yeah. Long story short, overhaul the captain, admiral, fleet commander system and introduce some elite, better trained fighter squadrons. Long story short.
I'm just thinking, when you said nobody ever builds those structures, I'm thinking like, man, I'm like one of the few like people in the whole like galaxy that probably builds one.
Oh, you do?
I build them for the minor little buff that you can get, because in my opinion, it's like, I mean, I can have a fleet, and then I can also have a fleet with a fleet commander who doesn't take up any space. Like, I might as well just throw him in there, because, and if he does,
they're actually super fucking overpowered because they give like 25% extra health. It's like super strong.
Yeah, they're pretty damn good.
I know, and there's lots of these systems in Empire at War that are like broken as fuck, but nobody uses them because they're like boring. So what I plan to do is I plan to kind of make them balanced, so no longer broken and interesting. So when in the next release, whenever the fuck that happens, when you build that thing, you suddenly get a whole host of options like elite pilots and the whole shebang.
Are you going to include more elite fighter squadrons, or just the basic black squadron?
Oh no! I already have a elite interceptor squadron based on the template of the 181st, just without some of the more OP health buffs and the fleet commander bonus that they give to starfighters. Basically, have that. Basically, when you build the academy, you will be able to build TIE interceptors, TIE hunters, and TIE defenders with a little bit better agility to simulate the fact that they are technically supposed to be better at dogfighting. Slightly more HP just to make them a little bit more durable. More units per squadron, very important, so that they don't instantly die. Instantly die, so that they are a little bit more durable and they actually feel like something worth getting. And a small strike ability to kind of make them more powerful for a short duration.
Okay. So, with that in mind, it kind of makes me think about. I'm trying to think. What were some of the most other, aside from Rogue Squadron? What were some of the other famous squadrons during the rebellion? Well,
there was Gold Squadron, which I just recently cut because the only thing they ever did was blow up the Death Star and then get shit on and die.
Yeah.
So I just removed those today.
So they're gone entirely.
Oh yeah, no, they're gone. They never really did anything. Yeah, I mean, they did blow up the Death Star, which some would say is a significant feat, but at the same time, they also kind of all died doing it, and they weren't really famous, like, for example, Rogue Squadron or the 181st.
Yeah.
So that's why I cut them.
Do you plan on, because I know the mod in general kind of doesn't have a focus on, New Republic Rebellion eras, because it kind of incorporates a little bit of both eras into one, per se. Mm-hmm. Unless, do you plan on focusing on a specific kind of era, or is it more of just like a general?
I actually had an interesting plan, which is like, all right, so we don't really, I mean, the mod isn't that, we're not that anal about, for example, time period and stuff, but I don't want to, for example, start mixing in Legacy era units or like New Republic era units into the current system. What we could do is, for example, add a whole GC where, for example, you have to take Coruscant as the Rebellion, at which point you can buy like a super expensive upgrade to reinstate the New Republic, then replace your entire fleet roster with New Republic units, and then introduce New Republic units that way. That would take a bunch of coding that I haven't really thought about and haven't done yet, obviously. But that's one way that it could be done. Other than that, I'm not really looking to introduce things other than the Viscount. Mostly just to give the Rebellion something flashy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a sucker for flashy shit. If you haven't noticed.
Understandable. I was personally thinking about like a lot of one of the number one things I hope to see in the future for the mod was probably the E-wing. I don't know why. I just have like a space boner for the E-wing. I don't know why.
I've been hearing a lot about that, only about the K-wing. It's like constantly K-wing everywhere.
I mean, to
Yeah.
be fair, the K-wing is literally a tactical nuke with wings. Like that thing has so much goddamn firepower.
Oh, I even have an interesting way to implement the whole thing. Do you know the Tartan as it is currently?
Yeah.
Like just a single lone gunship type
Oh
unit?
yeah, yeah.
That would be what the K-wing is, only with all those torpedoes and missiles and turbo lasers and all that shit.
Would it be
Basically a super heavy
oh, I'm sorry,
gunship unit.
Okay,
And
so it would be
there
like
are currently... Sorry, go ahead.
my apologies.
We do this all the time. God damn it! Sorry.
I was gonna say it would be more of a standalone. It would be a standalone unit versus like a squadron of 3 or so.
Yeah, something like that. And then it kind of moves like a very... It rotates very slowly, but it still has the fighter locomotive, so you get these super wide flying arcs. Though recently, but actually just a few hours ago, I was thinking about how about we have some... Again, it's a shame you never played Battle of Middle-earth. Rise of the Witch King introduced a unique unit class, which are basically mini hero hordes, which are basically extremely powerful single units. They're still technically units, but they are exceptionally powerful, both in damage and tankability. And I thought about, what if we introduce something like that to Empire at War, and then on top of the normal elite squadrons, which are still very much killable, you have some, for example, for the Empire, the TIE Scimitar, and for the Rebellion, the K-Wing, and for the Underworld, the Basilisk War Droid. Just a super, super, super strong, durable, and powerful sort of hero fighter squadron, which you can only build a few of.
Yeah.
That will be single-handedly be able to like take on like an Imperial Star Destroyer or something.
Okay. Oh hell, that's that
Anyway,
answers.
I think too much about these gameplay things.
Dude, no, you don't. I mean, it's good to have innovation. Otherwise, we'd have 30 more replicated Clone Wars mods. But
You'd basically get Alliance. Sorry.
Right.
I recently played that, man, and I was like, I played that for like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, and I was like, maybe I'm just not getting Nomada's vision, but I don't get it. I don't get the system he's going for. I don't understand it. Maybe I just didn't play it for long enough, but it seems like Megabot on the mod up actually summed it up perfectly. He said, it's like you went to the store, the grocery store, to purchase ingredients for a meal. And with like 2 giant wagons. And then you stock up 2 giant wagons and you come home. Only you realize you forgot you forgot like the onions, you forgot the spices, you forgot everything that makes an actual meal. Only you have all the other shit.
You know,
and I strangely found that very apt of a description.
You know,
of Alliance.
I'm not gonna judge like the mod to that degree.
Oh yeah, shit. Sorry, we weren't gonna do that.
Well, my thing
bad.
is, I did a playthrough. I tried to do a playthrough of that mod way back in the day when I had a garbage PC and the game still crashed a lot. And
don't worry, it still crashes today.
Okay, noted then. But I always enjoyed the fact that there was just so much potential in that mod in terms of, space map design, mechanics, etc. It just kind of, the only thing that realistically killed it for me was the fact that you could kind of have everything at once, and then there were just so many goddamn fan-made designs that were just thrown in there for no reason. It was just
and these weird-ass stupid things too. But some of the ideas were really solid. Like, I think it was the first mod that really did the giant planet background thing. Only it did it really shittily, which is like all of Alliance mod. It has like these ton of, which seem to be good ideas, but with the most horrible dog shit execution.
And, some of that mod also has some of my favorite space maps too. Like sometimes you can go into like Kuat or Bill Bringy, and there would just be a assortion of like shipyards surrounded by Golans and stuff that just they didn't always spawn, but sometimes I think that's what the system was. It's like whenever you went into certain space battles, I think it tried to predict maybe like what part of the planet you were like possibly going to. You could either be going towards the side with more of the shipyards or more of the open-ended side, which would just have more. Sometimes it would have more defensive stations. If you go towards the more shipyard side, it would have like defensive stations surrounding shipyards and stuff. And I thought that was like, when I first saw them, just like, holy shit, this is actually kind of like cool. It's just it was heavily RNG based. I noticed like all the maps, like when you load it into it, they did not appear the same at all the time, like for some reason. It's like there's so many cool ideas in there. They just need to be refined. Like,
Yeah, that's the whole that's the best summing up. You know how I tried to turn the Starforge kind of in like a boss battle?
yeah.
I kind of designed something like that for Kuat. I haven't built it, but I got it all like I got an idea in my head on how to do something like that, where you go like around the shipyards, and I mean obviously you can only do a small section of the shipyard since it's a planet-wide ring. You can kind of go around that and then have like the shipyards on one side and have it continuously spawn shit.
Mm.
And you have to kind of go through the endless waves of guys. So you can place all sorts of space stations there, and even obstacles on the map to have to force you to go like one way or the other. And then depending on where you can or cannot go, you can kind of put other structures to. Anyway, I'm going way too much into this. Sorry.
No, you're good, dude. No, really, like you're fine, dude. As far oh, and we still have to talk about the Imperial Vision. But the one thing I was actually thinking about the other day was after the underworld had captured the Starforge. Before I could even get to it, is it possible to make it so where you can basically never win an auto resolve with a certain planet, like or a certain battle? Like it's a like if you were to set like the Starforge, it's like auto resolve number to like basically like 17 million, like to a point where literally no fleet can auto resolve against it. You have to like
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue in that sense. I mean, currently I think it has like a million. Oh no, wait, that's not auto resolve HP. I'm not sure how much auto resolve stuff have. But as I said, I've kind of intentionally broken the auto resolve because A, I don't want to bother, and B, I think it's great that people can't just auto resolve through everything.
yeah
Even if they don't actually want to play the space battles. But when you go against something like the Starforge, I really kind of want people to kind of have to do that battle.
yeah.
Though at auto resolve, I'm not sure. I do know that every single battle is very winnable. Even the Starforge battle, it's a very you just have to look at it logically. What should I send against this, and then you can very easily win. Well, easily it'll still take like 40 fucking minutes, but you can do it, and you can very reliably win it. The auto resolve, I'm not sure if you can technically build in. I mean, maybe when the Galaxy Gun is finished and implemented, maybe that one with the auto resolve
Wait,
will probably completely fuck
did,
you up.
did you say the Galaxy Gun?
Oh, didn't you see the? Yeah, I got one of those in progress.
I didn't
Oh,
realize that.
oh yeah. I got some plans for that as well. I know I say a lot. I have plans. I just try to realize them in order, or hopefully in order, so that people, when I kind of have faith that when I say I have plans, I used to work for a guy that said I have plans, and he was just completely full of shit.
Yeah.
And now I say the same thing, so I kind of try to fall back on my earlier things where I said I have plans, which is like kind of things like the Starforge and the Death Star new size and the vertical rotation and shit like that. And I then kind of just hope that people have faith that I'm not talking shit. I have some plans for the Galaxy Gun. It's not the model is not finished, but it will be kind of like a neutrally buildable super weapon. It's kind of like the opposite of the Starforge. So you have the Starforge on one side of the galaxy, then you got the Galaxy Gun on the other side, which is buildable at the Maw. First, you have to defeat it in battle, and then you can rebuild it. Same with the Starforge. You will be able to there build projectiles, which you can fire basically across the map. The galaxy map. It's not really a thing you can fire across the map, but you basically build a tracking unit, which you then send into battle on whatever planet you want. And that unit then allows you to fire a shell from off map, which will then kind of count as a Death Star shot, killing everything that it hits in a fairly large radius, or just at the planet itself.
So,
It'll be very reachable. Oh, sorry.
so I was just thinking. So, one thing I kind of caught in that sentence was you're gonna have it buildable at the mall. You're not gonna like do like I guess like how the quote unquote like canon had it, like where it was like built at BIS or something like that. It's just gonna be strictly at the mall, pretty much.
Oh, no. See, I think that would be fairly unbalanced because the Empire has very easy access to BS, whereas these neutrally buildable super weapons, I mean, the Starforge I count as one. I mean, it does like a minus 99% build time reduction on Starfighters. It's a pretty goddamn big super weapon, only in GC. Don't battle is also very nice.
Yeah.
They have to be accessible by every faction, otherwise it will be fairly unbalanced, and especially with the Empire having access to a actual faction-specific super weapon, there needs to be some sort of system in place to prevent the Empire from being able to access so much power that they just instantly win upon reaching higher tech levels and having enough money. So that is why it is positioned at the Maw, which is the opposite from Rocata Prime, which is also roughly accessible by every faction. That's how we designed the maps. Every faction can get to them with the same, well, relatively the same amount of effort. And that's also why we're making them cost the same and roughly the same power level
Yeah.
to kind of get that balance in there.
Okay. Well, that answers my question then. I mean, it makes sense. Like you said, like we're going for quality over quantity. That's all it is.
Oh, sorry,
That's all.
quality or quantity?
Yeah, I'm saying like that's all it's about. Really, we're going for quality over quantity. You know, like you're just making sure everything is balanced and everything is fair for every faction that's within the mod. And so,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I mean, if you want to have a decent playing game, it needs to be a balanced game. That's the reason why there are so many community patches for old strategy games that were at the time unbalanced. It's because people want to play balanced stuff, and if it's not balanced, people don't want to play it. Very simple.
I
And
agree.
I don't want to play it.
I agree.
Well, that's
I was gonna
sorry.
say,
Yeah.
as far as like, so on the subject of the vision for the Empire, what do you have planned for the Empire? Like, what do you want to do with the Empire further?
Let's see. Yeah, it's mostly just refining what they currently have and hopefully at one point getting the damn Starbase overhaul in place. In terms of actually adding new content, I mean, I suppose all these new Starbases are new content. In terms of actually adding any units for new battle stuff, I would like to have more end of tech tree options so that when you go, say, a route with your Starbases, once they are eventually in place, you have more options to actually get there. The Death Star used to be the end of the tech tree for the Empire, and then there was nothing. I tried to make that as flashy as possible and as impressive as possible with the wow factor to make it to kind of warrant you going down the tech tree and saving up enough money to actually purchase something like that. I
Yeah,
would like more end of game things to justify really teching up to something, saving up for something, and then the giant money sinks. And in the style of every other Imperial super weapon or super Star Destroyer, it must absolutely not be worth the cost. If I pour the money into Star Destroyers that I pour into, for example, the Death Star, it'll beat it like 100 times out of 100. That's how it's supposed to be. When you have a super weapon like that, it needs to absolutely cost far more than it's actually worth.
yeah,
And just like the actual Empire, you can also now bankrupt yourself doing things like that because we changed the economy system from a pay one sum up front to a pay as you go system. So
yeah.
you can now realistically bankrupt yourself building superstar destroyers.
As the rebellion, I've bankrupted myself a few times, just like constantly building up other star bases. I would just
Yep,
hit that checksum
that
of zero,
happens.
and I have to wait like another like 7 notches before I can actually continue what I'm doing.
Yeah, that happens.
I like that system though. It makes it way more balanced. In my opinion, it just like you have to be careful about your money, at least especially early on in the game. You have to be really careful about your money. You know, you don't want to just spam every single thing that you get your fingers on. You know, you have to kind of plan it out a little bit.
I do want to make it a little bit more forgiving because I mean I power game things myself. I gotta remember that people don't always do that in the same way. People do like to just try stuff and enjoy stuff. So I need to give I need to make some things, and especially the economic start for some of these factions, a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could probably
That's a
brainstorm.
sentiment you'll hear throughout the community, basically.
Hey, I'm personally here for it because I like the challenge, but you know, I understand you have to appeal to certain other audiences too. So I mean, you know, I think it's a
Well,
great
I mean,
challenge.
if there is one thing I've learned over time, it is that people have absolutely no fucking clue what they want. And that you really have to kind of show them something, and then they will say, all right, you know what? That's pretty awesome. Because if you go by what people say they want, you will literally do everything, and in the end, people won't be happy.
Yeah,
So, what people do or don't want, I don't really pay that much attention to it myself.
yeah,
Well, I mean, um, in some cases, for example, I'll do kind of what the community wants, but I'll kind of try to do it in my own way, in the way I think it works. Because if you actually just, for example, put up a giant poll for, all right, how much should the Starbase cost her, then you're not going to get a good, coherent vision because most people don't really have a whole lot of coherent vision about these things.
I agree.
Possibly because I think about it too much that I do, but
I
anyway,
mean,
I just learned you got to show people something they like, because otherwise you're gonna end up with a mess.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't really think you think too hard about it. You care. You want some full quality out of what you're going to be doing in the long run. You don't want to just, you just don't want to just make it full of bullshit. Which is
That's a perfect description. That's very apt.
yeah.
If I could have vocalized it like that, I would have.
And it brings me back to that discussion that occurred a few weeks ago about the A wing and the B wing. I personally understood the argument you were making. It just hurt my soul to never see those units. That was really my argument. But
I remember that. I was staring at the damn my Excel sheet with units for so long, thinking, what do we do? Because on one hand, there was the super redundancy of, all right, so you have the A-Wing as a good interceptor, and you have, for example, the Z-95 as a decent low-tier interceptor for the Rebellion. We can't cut the Z-95. Oh no, wait, it was the B-Wing and the B-Wing and the Y-Wing, which were the most problems. So they're both bombers. The B-Wing is literally better than the Y-Wing in every single way. So it makes the Y-Wing redundant in late game. So one of these two has to be cut, because otherwise this is going to turn into Alliance mod where you have a ton of redundant shit, which nobody wants. We can't cut the Y-Wing because it's an early game unit, so we have to cut the B-Wing. And I eventually caved under pressure of people saying, what? That's preposterous. And I eventually got it back in, but yeah.
If anything, I always thought maybe it should have just been more expensive, really. Because, like, the way I was looking at it was like the Y-Wing
it's expensive enough. That's not even the problem. It was completely balanced. Like, cost-wise, it was balanced. It was actually more expensive than it needed to be, just to offset for the fact that it made the Y-Wing a little bit redundant. It was completely balanced in its role. It just had to do with the fact that I don't want too much redundant stuff, because I've seen way too many mods kind of like go that route and just end up with like this trash heap of random units, and at some point people are going to get confused, like, what is this, what is that, and they're just going to quit because it's like, well, whatever.
And I agree with that mindset. I think a lot of the things that, in my opinion, count as redundant pertains to like the random units that nobody's ever heard of. We all historically know, the B-Wing, A-Wing, X-Wing, Y-Wing. So when we look at those units, regardless of what like point in the game we are, I think I might be speaking for the fan base when I say this. When we look at those units as what they are, it doesn't really cross our minds as, this is too much or this is something boring. Because to us, like, these are the standard things. These are what made the Rebellion, like, that gave it its image, like how the Mari Cruisers kind of gave it its image, and then you've got the X-Wing is like the thing that represents the Starfighter Corps of the Rebellion. And, like, it's the same principle for the A-Wing, the Y-Wing, and the B-Wing. It's like, even if the design philosophy there isn't necessarily, I guess, up to par per se, I'm pretty certain it doesn't bother pretty much all the fans. Like, if you were to start throwing random things in there, like the mysterious, there was a Starfighter called the M-Wing. There was actually a Starfighter called the M-Wing. If you want to look that image up, go right ahead. But
hang on, I'll fix you right up.
I think
Star Wars M-Wing.
I think redundancy for a lot of the fan base only really applies if it's just some shit we've probably never heard of, and it's just they're like having a redundant bomber, like having
that's
it's
that's a little bit strange.
I'm gonna put that in the
sorry,
I'm gonna put that in the video, but I think redundancy only applies realistically if there's just like multiples, like two bombers that are relatively similar, but aside, say for design, and one's just like better. Given that both of them are really historical units that we all know and love, I'm pretty certain it doesn't bother like any of the fans whatsoever. Yeah. Now, if you were to start like chucking in, like I said, the M-Wing, people probably
I understand. I understand the point. Trust me, I've gone there. I've had so many people shout at me over that. Trust me, I've heard the things so many times. Yeah. It's just that I really hate units that are redundant in late game. It's like, I don't want people to just like spam the late game units and then voila. I really like it when people use varied strategies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I try to stimulate that behavior by not having like end game units which invalidate all the lower tier units.
Oh yeah, like I completely understand the philosophy that you're shooting for in either way it goes. So like in the long run, if you were to do like whatever you decide to do, I mean, I'm personally still going to support you at the end. Like it's still your mod and it's your design philosophy.
I do appreciate that because not everyone has that mindset.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, I mean, I could arguably mod it in myself, but I mean, it's just gonna fuck with whatever balance exists. So I'd rather just play it how it's supposed to be. So hey, I agree with you, dude.
Well, not to fear, both the A wing and the B wing will make it into the next release.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. That saves me a little bit of heartache. Yeah. So the last couple of questions I want to ask you. One's going to be related to the Viscount, and the other one's going to just be, like I said, personal questions. Your design philosophy...
Oh, no. Hey, dude, if you want to ask personal questions, go right ahead. I don't mind.
Gotcha.
I do live streaming for a living. I don't mind sharing like stuff like that at all.
All right, well, in that case, then, so let me ask my final Empire War related question. The Viscount. You have one of the most unique Viscount designs in the planet, probably.
Thank you.
Probably hasn't stuck to any form of single historical... quote unquote historical like version of the Viscount that we've seen so far in any Star Wars related media. What was your design philosophy behind it? Honestly, like I think it's a pretty unique model, and I'm just curious to see.
Let me actually quickly load up the. Oh, there's by the way, the Viscount now actually has a texture. Thanks to Dolby Nick. I mean, it is exported. It's not rigged, but I can, if you want, I can send you a like image of the texture, the thing, if you have
sure.
Like.
I could, if with your permission, if I could post that in the video, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no problem. Basically, here's what you gotta understand about me and designing ships from scratch. I am really bad at it. Every time I have tried to design an actual unit from scratch, it has gone exceptionally poorly. The Viscount was no different. I went through a whole lot of... sorry, I have to copy some textures over into the data folder and stuff. I went through a whole bunch of iterations on the Viscount before I eventually settled on something that looked reasonable. And even then, it had some pretty big issues. It wasn't until far, far later that I actually built out what is currently the Viscount into something I kind of started liking. And then I basically kept on trucking in the hopes that it would improve.
Yeah.
And eventually it turned into what it is currently. It even has the PBR shaders. Great. Oh, that actually... PBR shaders. They make everything look good. Here. Anyway, can I copy that in? Let's see. Hopefully Steam does it. Anyway. I basically went through a whole bunch of iterations. I redid the ship several times. The original base meshes, I mean, I think they're gone now, but there were like 3 versions that I deleted before I eventually went with this. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to do something more unique, mostly because what everybody knows as the Viscount right now is actually an image of the 3-kilometer Viscount, which is kind of like the prototype. It was a battle cruiser. Only there is no image of the Dreadnought version, which is the giant 17-kilometer long Star Defender.
That's actually a good point. I actually never really paid attention to that. The only image.
Oh, no one knows that. No one knows that. So I was like, I got all this kind of like design space because, I mean, obviously you can't size up a 3-kilometer battlecruiser to fucking 17. That's just going to look terrible. I mean, logically, that's dumb. It's kind of like what the Clone Wars did with like the Recusant and the Providence. They just took the existing ones and sized them up to a larger size. That's just lazy. So I thought, okay, let's design something a little bit more unique and kind of give it my own signature spin. Try to, at least. Kind of like what I did with the Eclipse and the sideways firing like lasers and shit.
Yeah.
So after going through all the other iterations, I eventually settled on this one and I kept building it out until eventually, after I started adding some detail, I decided that I actually kind of like this. And I just basically kept going. Eventually, I decided, all right, it kind of has this flowing upwards curve from when you look at it from the side.
Yeah.
We have nothing on the bottom to kind of reflect that. It's just kind of too flat. And I thought, all right, what if we kind of simulate that by adding a sort of giant fin-like structure to the bottom? And that turned from a detachable Mon Calamari ship to that would work via ability to a giant hangar pod. And that's basically how that giant... It's definitely not a whale deck that spawns giant small starfighters. Definitely don't think that.
Yeah.
And that is basically how that got there.
Yeah,
And yeah, I took a little bit of inspiration from the Raddus from The Last Jedi on the rear engine section. And yeah, with a bit
actually,
of work and a bit of headache, this is what turned out. I'm actually
actually,
quite happy with the final result, strangely enough.
I mean, it looks great. It's actually kind of interesting you point that out that the Radis literally kind of looked like an iteration of the Viscount. Actually, the more that I think about it now,
I
actually,
actually thought in the intro shot of The Last Jedi, when you zoom in on it, I was like, holy shit, they actually put the Viscount in. Cool. Of course, that didn't end up being the case, but for a second there, I did think it.
it does look like a Viscount. It absolutely does have the image like the looks of a Viscount.
It had that shape, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Something we recognized, and then the rest of The Last Jedi came, and it was like, oh.
Let's not talk about that movie. Jesus Christ.
I actually went in with absolutely zero expectations and, just expected them to completely botch it. And I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was like, oh, nice. There's some subverted expectations and stuff, some surprises. It's actually not terrible. And then I went in for a second watch, actually thinking about it as a Star Wars movie. And then I was severely disappointed at the end of it. But for the first time, I was actually quite entertained. Just as a dumb action summer block. Wait, it was winter.
That's the way I looked at it.
Kind of like a dumb blockbuster.
Like as a movie as a whole, it was mediocre at best. But it's like a Star Wars movie. I was just like,
It was flashy. It had graphics.
yeah. As a Star Wars movie, I was
That's
just
what
like, yikes.
Oh no, as an actual like movie, and especially as a Star Wars movie, it was like, ooh, yeah. I mean, we've all heard the criticisms. I feel like we don't need to chew that one over.
Yeah, we'll just leave that alone. But what else? Oh, personal questions. So just a couple.
Sure.
For one, do you have any pets?
No, I wish I had a pet. Man, it would be so cool to have a damn dog or something. But sadly, my parents aren't really a fan of that. My father dislikes dogs. I don't know how you could ever dislike dogs, but my father manages. And my mother dislikes cats. So sadly, we have no pets, which really damn shame. I would love to have it like a dog. Instead, I have a sister.
Okay. In that case, then so how? Actually, I've always wondered this. How old are you?
How old am I? Well, I'm currently 24 years old.
Okay, I didn't know if you were like significantly older than me because I'm only 20. I'm 23.
You're only 23. Holy shit. I'm sorry, but I would have pegged you for much older than that.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. Just looking at you from the interviews. I mean, you did say that you were still like in doing university and wrapping up the exams and stuff. But I actually thought you were much older.
Yeah.
Then again, people also say that about me sometimes, and it's like it's just the bald head, man. It's just the boldness.
I roughly thought you were closer to like maybe 30 or so.
That's ever since I've gone bald. Ever since that, I've been hearing that. Literally went from saying like we have a formal you and then we have a like an informal you. Literally went from informal to formal overnight. I've been trying to salvage the hair situation for I don't know. Sorry. Were there other questions important, or am I free to go over the baldness?
That was actually my next question. Is the baldness a choice, or is it something that you just come to like? Is the baldness?
All right, it's kind of both.
I was gonna say,
Here's
like,
the story.
Does it like kind of like encapsulate your personality? Did you choose for the baldness, or is that just like something that just kind of happened? You're not like dying or anything, are you?
No.
Okay.
Thank God, no. At least not that I'm aware. Not that I'm aware. It basically went like this. I got two very specific genes from my father. I mean, other than the branching story from my grandfather, I got two sets of genes from my father. A, the most robust immune system you've ever seen, and B, the male pattern baldness. When I was about 18, I started going bald, and I started getting like a bald spot on the back of my head, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Is this like, am I having my earphones on in the wrong way or something? And eventually I noticed, oh God, no, this is happening. And over 6 months, I tried to salvage the situation by trying, like, I tried gel, I tried like trying to like style my hair a different way, and at one point I was just like, this is not going to work. We are actually slowly going bald, and it's not totally bald. It's just that these spots that just increase in size, and it just doesn't look good. And I know for sure that I am not going to be one of these half bald ass motherfuckers trying to like hide the whole situation by having like this gay ass top knot and some shit like that. Which is where, you know, you sometimes have these old people which like have like 3 hairs which they like grow and then strike all the way across their head. Is like desperately trying to stave off the ball. It's like, no, bro, this is the hand that you've been dealt. So roll with it. And at that point, I shaved my head and I literally went from a U to a sir overnight. And ever since then, I've been hearing that.
Well, hey, I mean, at least that means people might respect you more. They see the baldness and think, man, this guy has to be like way older than me. I just let me just not say anything the way I want to towards him. I have to show him the most absolute respect possible.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm pretty much a goofball, though. I mean, I am not. I mean, I can be quite serious if I want to about things, but mostly I'm just a goofball. So that generally lasts until I open my mouth, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, he's a real person." I could just be nice.
I gotta say, dude.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I was gonna say, I gotta say, dude. I've thoroughly enjoyed like this entire conversation, dude. Yeah, frankly, if I didn't have literally like the stream in like about an hour or so on a jog to go on, dude, I'd love to probably make this like push it to the 3-hour mark. But
you would? Oh, dude, that's what I'm saying. You gotta watch out for that because there will be topic after topic after topic, and there will just be bam, bam, bam. We'll be smashing them out. Anyway. If you do have to end it though, that's not a problem.
Yeah, we're probably gonna stop here because I do want to edit some things in here. With the way rendering goes with my PC, it takes quite a few hours to fully render.
Well, it is your show, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm debating if I actually want to throw music in here or not one day, but that's a topic for another day. But
well, I mean, make sure it's not copyrighted shit. Otherwise, YouTube will just block it in all the goddamn countries.
That's also true.
Goddamn YouTube copyright. I swear to fuck.
Yeah, it's definitely hurt some of my videos. Like I haven't like lost any audio in some of my videos, but not that I really care about revenue. I don't give a shit about revenue on YouTube, but
mostly because YouTube doesn't give out any revenue.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Goddamn, that's another thing. The goddamn ad revenue. YouTube. I wish there was a fucking alternative. For a second, I was actually considering switching to like Pornhub since they actually they actually pay out ad revenue. But I was like, then people are going to expect an entirely different kind of content. So maybe that's just not the way to go. So after a brief consideration, threw that one in the trash.
We'll definitely have to have a separate interview where we talk about your aspirations with Pornhub. That'd definitely be something pretty interesting.
Now that's a collab and a half. Yeah,
dude. I like I said, dude, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day because we are significantly 2 completely different time zones. This interview was supposed to happen.
No problem. Like, hey, the most annoying thing about that was that I was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, all right, guys, we got the coffee. We are ready to go. And I was like, oh, yeah, wait, that's American time.
Yeah, I was like, because I actually overslept my alarm a little bit by accident. I got like a full 8 hours of sleep, overslept my alarm. And I woke up. It was like 10:30 my time. I'm like, shit. And then I look at you. You sent me a message like 3 a.m. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah. That was all my fault. That was all me.
Either way, dude, I'm glad you could make it, man. And like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this time.
Yeah, no problem, man. And thanks for having me on. Yeah, definitely fun. Oh, and I do want to say publicly, I haven't said this yet, but I definitely appreciate that there's someone doing all this community stuff. The Empire at War community has been very toxic for a long time, and it may or may not have also kind of contributed to that in the past, but I definitely do appreciate that there's someone trying to actually make it better in this sense.
Do you want me to pull up images of the old file front conversations? Or
hell no. Hell no. Thank you. Those days are long behind me. I like to think that I have since bettered myself.
Those are definitely entertaining times. If you missed them,
those are spicy. Those are spicy.
But yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. I've always loved this community, and I've always wanted to see what I could do to like better it and get myself involved with it. So I mean, I'm glad to see like people actually care about the fact that I'm doing this. It means a lot. It really does, honestly.
Absolutely. I mean, the community. I still think the community is great, even though there are some toxic members in there, but that's okay. It's like, it's been my home for a long time now, and I really appreciate that, for example, someone's actually trying to, better it. I mean, I'm just repeating myself, but just wanted to express that gratitude and appreciation.
Well, thank you, dude, man. It really means a lot. It really does.
You deserve it.
In that case, then, guys, we're going to stop the video here. Thank you, Jeroen, for being a part of this activity. It was an honor.
No problem.
I'll see you guys in the next interview video, which I have no idea who it's going to be just yet. I've still got
No
some
matter.
more.
Please get him.
I will. I'm working on that. I'm gonna network with. I'm gonna go through all my Secret Service contacts and see if I can, like, connect to him some way. In some way,
Just fucking deport him from Spain and into the USA. Get him.
exactly.
Strap him into a chair. Waterboard him.
We'll have him. On second thought, I'm not gonna throw my suggestions out there because I'm not trying to have this video taken over from YouTube. But
you go protect your channel. You go protect your channel.
But yeah, thank you, dude. Thank you, YouTube, for watching this. I'll see you in the next video, which should be Empire War Remake, episode 11. I have no idea when that video is going to be posted because I usually record during this time for that, but instead we record this great interview this time. Yeah. Thank you,
Can I
Jeroen.
just say one last thing? Sorry.
Yeah,
I know you need to go, but just one thing. You know what really fucking surprises me? That at this point, there's actually like people making like playthroughs and stuff of the mod, and it's just, I don't know. It's kind of incredible and kind of surprising that the work that I've done, it's like it kind of inspires other people to do creative stuff, and I think that's incredible. I just think that's really strange.
Yeah, like I said earlier, dude, like, it's a great fucking mod. We love playing it, man. I'm always checking out for more.
I know, but I never stop being surprised by it. It's just like I made this, I did this, and then people take it and they do their own thing with it. That's, I know. I mean, you kind of see the download count as just a number, but people are actually like, when you realize these are actually real people that actually play this and enjoy this. I don't know. It's a very rewarding thing, and never actually expected that to happen. Anyway, that's just
like
awesome.
I said, dude, we love you, man. We appreciate your hard work, dude.
Thank you.
Not a problem, man. In that case, if there's nothing else to add to this conversation,
nah.
YouTube.
Bye, ladies and gentlemen.
See you, dude. YouTube, I'll see you in the next video. May the force be with you all. Peace.